At the Swiss University of St. Gallen, IMF Managing Director Christine Lagarde is discussing the most burning questions of the Eurozone crisis.
I wouldn't say that it's a global mess at the moment. I would say that it's a fragmented recovery.
As head of the International Monetary Fund, Lagarde deals directly with Eurozone crisis recovery strategies. There would be no Eurozone bailouts without the support of the IMF. Lagarde has become a hugely important figure in the world of global finance. She walks the corridors of power with an easy confidence, and she's not afraid to voice unpopular truths. Although the IMF's international HQ is in Washington, Lagarde follows a tradition of Europeans running the organization. She now has a deciding influence over whether struggling member states will receive a loan from the body's funds, which currently amount to over 550 billion euros.
Der Währungsfonds wurde gegründet, Ländern, die in
The IMF was set up to provide financial support to countries which face currency and debt difficulties when the international financial markets are no longer prepared to grant them money.
nicht mehr bereit sind, diesen Ländern Geld zu gewähren.
The IMF tries not to be just a fireman, but we're also trying to propose renewed architecture and better structure for the future. Are we going to prevent crisis going forward? Probably not, because capitalism is a system that moves in a way from crisis to crisis.
Many countries experience periods of economic difficulty and have their own histories of hard times. For example, the UK and Italy felt the strain in the 70s, or Russia and Asia in the 90s, or the problems Greece and Cyprus face today. As the boss of a billion-dollar helpline, Christine Lagarde may be the most powerful woman in the world. Time magazine wants to know, can she save Europe? She grew up in the French seaside town of Le Havre, together with her 3 siblings. Soon, this swimming pool became her second home, and at 13, she joined a synchronised swimming team. Marion Lasserat was among her teammates.
Christine Lagarde, elle est là.
This is Christine, together with our team. Here, having a little snack. Christine, the daughter of a university professor and school teacher, made it all the way to the French national team.
Jamais en écartant les autres.
She always reached her goals, but never at the expense of others. She had never displaced anyone. It wasn't until Lagarde began working as a lawyer in Paris that she experienced open discrimination against women for the first time. Journalist Marie Vizot wrote a biography of Lagarde and studied her early career. At her first job interview, the boss said to her, "For the first 6 months you'll be filing papers, and then you'll just have kids. That'll be it as far as your career is concerned." Lagarde didn't get the job, but she started work at another law firm where she fought hard in a male-dominated world. At 25, she moved to work as a lawyer in the US, eventually becoming the company's managing director. Her time in Chicago left its mark on her. She speaks flawless English, her style is tough and cordial, and she also learned to lay off incompetent employees, the American way. Lagarde made the transition into politics at the age of 51, when Nicolas Sarkozy made her the Minister of Agriculture. We've also discussed the promotion of the plum industry. But this is only where the fun began. From the Ministry of Agriculture, she went on to become the first female finance minister. She had a shaky beginning in public life. The media were overjoyed and pounced when, in response to rising fuel prices, she advised French citizens to switch to bicycles. This period also brought a scandal which dogs her to this day. After a legal dispute with a bank, Lagarde enabled financial compensation to businessman Bernard Tapie, bringing accusations that she had misused public money. During the investigation, her Paris apartment was raided, and the outcome of the case is not yet settled. In May 2011, a different scandal served as a springboard for her career. Dominic Strauss-Kahn, the director of the IMF, was accused of sexual assault on a hotel employee. Although the charges were later dropped, Strauss-Kahn was forced to resign from his post. Christine Lagarde quickly joined the race to become his replacement.
It's a hard job. It's a difficult task. Being a European should not be a plus. It shouldn't be a minus either. And I'm not arguing for my candidacy because of the fact that I'm a European or because I've been engaged in setting up those financial institutions that have helped in the bailouts that we've put in place.
Her role as an outsider became her greatest strength. Christine Lagarde, the woman from a male-dominated world, the lawyer in the bastion of economists, the misfit amongst regulations. She stood for change and reform, and she promised modernization to emerging countries.
Very nice to see you, Charles. Congratulations, and it's a bit early. We agreed that the reform that has been undertaken and that has begun to affect the fund must continue and be developed around two principles which in my view are critical. Number one, the principle of inclusiveness, reaching out to all, and second, the principle of diversity.
Christine Lagarde became managing director of the IMF on a platform of reform and progress. But her hardline proposals have caused some controversy in her homeland.
En ce moment, économiquement,
As the director of the IMF, she feels more affinity with German austerity plans rather than the French ones. She gets on well with the German finance minister Schäuble. In recent weeks, she's been forced to agree on smaller cut plans, which would not threaten growth. This direction is closer to the French one, but in principle, she agrees with the German politics. President of the National Bank of Austria, Ewald Novotny, has enjoyed dealing with her since she became the French finance minister.
Was mir an ihr auffällt, ist
What I like about her is her cool self-confidence.
Selbstbewusstsein. Also sie ist wirklich immer voll.
She is always really alert,
Sehr gut.
very well informed.
Also sie liest wirklich.
She also really reads her documents
Und
and addresses
sie ist schon
arguments.
bereit, immer auf Argumente
It's easy to talk to
einzugehen. Also
her
man hat irgendwie das Gefühl, und man
and to
kommt
talk
auch
to her
in
honestly.
eine Gesprächssituation mit ihr. Und zwar eine ernsthafte.
Lagarde has become a relentless voice, calling for European reform.
We're losing momentum. We're losing momentum in implementation.
À son arrivée au FMI, elle a été plutôt compréhensive avec l'Europe.
When she started off working at the top of the IMF, she had a lot of understanding for Europe.
Elle a accompagné l'Europe.
The crisis was in full swing.
Plusieurs semaines, voire
Recently,
plusieurs mois,
she's found that Europe doesn't
on
act
estime au
fast
FMI
enough,
que l'Europe
doesn't
ne va
come
pas
to the
assez
right
vite, ne prend pas les
decisions,
bonnes décisions,
that it's always limping a step
qu'il faudrait
behind.
réagir, qu'il faudrait mieux réagir et plus vite, qu'on a toujours un train de retard.
Lagarde sees the world moving at 3 speeds.
Where a group of economies, the emerging markets and the developing countries, are driving the bus, if you will, cruising at about 5.3% growth this year. A second group, including the United States and Switzerland for that matter, as well as Sweden, for instance, are in second gear and picking up gradually, despite significant issues that they have to grapple with. And then the third group, which is struggling to get into gear, includes the Eurozone and to a certain degree Japan.
Lagarde also isn't afraid to challenge European governments head-on. She's called for a reduction of the amount that will be repaid to public moneylenders, in a move opposed by Chancellor Angela Merkel. Germany has had to invest the most to save the Eurozone.
Christine Lagarde spielt
Christine Lagarde has the often unpleasant role of the trailblazer in the context of the European debt crisis. She has to advocate ideas which require a lot of political preparation before they become widely accepted. Whether a year and a half ago at the meeting of the World Bank and the IMF, or more recently At the summit of central bank directors and finance ministers, the group photo always looks the same. Lagarde remains an exception in the male-dominated world of international finance. But she is much more than just a token woman. What she does reminds me of an attempt to turn the 17 European member states back into synchronised swimmers, as they were before the crisis. If she manages that, Christine Lagarde will become the most successful synchronised swimmer of all time. As the Eurozone teeters on the brink, Christine Lagarde now faces the biggest challenge of her career. And her decisions over Greece, Cyprus, and the whole of the Eurozone will directly affect the lives of millions of people.